Hey, Amy.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Enjoying this weather.
Yeah. Got this chilliness.
Nice.
Yeah, my background doesn't really suit the weather we have. I apologize.
Hey, Shanna, I don't know if you happen to see Trinity's chat message. She said she needs to be promoted. Oh, yep, you obviously did. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're just waiting for the mayor, Councilmember Petula, and Councilwoman Mendoza to get on. We'll get started here soon. How's it going, David?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
I hear you fine, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
we're still, Sean, we're on. Marnie's trying to get on right now. However you'd like to proceed. She'll be on in just a second.
Okay, we'll give her a second to hop on, and then we'll continue from there. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
There we go. Hey, Sean.
Get my agenda up. All right. LAFCO meeting ended at the perfect time. Hey, David, when we kick this off, do you mind leading us in the pledge?
Not at all. How you doing?
Not bad. How about you tonight?
Good. Thanks.
We'll give Marnie 2 more minutes and then see if she can get on.
Mr. Mayor, Marnie's in the city hall and she's trying to get logged in, and she suggests you go ahead and kind of move forward, and she'll get on as soon as she can if you're comfortable with that.
All right, sounds good. All right, if everybody's ready, I will call our June 9th regular session council meeting to order at 6:09. We had no closed session items to report, no closed session. So we'll move on to our open session. Call the open session to order. And David, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, David. All right. Amy, would you do a roll call, please?
Sure. For the record, Councilmember Mendoza is here. Councilmember Ackerman,
Present.
Burris,
Present.
Petula,
Here.
and Mayor Loman.
Present. Thank you. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda order?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda order.
Second.
Okay, Trinity approved, and Marnie with a second. Amy, could you do a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Mendoza,
Yes.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Petula,
Hi.
and Mayor Loman.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to agency reports. Sergeant Griffiths.
Good afternoon, City Council. How's everybody doing tonight on this nice brisk day? I was up there most of the day today, running around the city. Went to a couple of calls for service. Shannon was nice enough to put our dashboard out that just shows the number of calls we had within the city limits. That's 165 over the last month. That doesn't include the outlying areas of Colfax that our deputies are backing other deputies up, or higher up in the hills with those calls for service. Just want to make this quick. Rawlins Lake is getting extremely busy, as you are all aware. Folsom Lake has not gone over 5 miles an hour this entire year, so we're expecting a lot of traffic up at Rawlins Lake. I was up there over Memorial Day weekend, and the line to get in on Friday night was a couple hours long. They expected the lake to be packed and nobody else getting in. We're seeing a lot of the big ski boats, a lot of the ones that take on ballast water to drop them lower into the water for the wakeboarding. That is creating some huge waves across our small little lake. But you'll be happy to know, because Folsom's not up, I also run the Marine unit. We will have a boat the majority of the time on Rawlins Lake Friday through Monday, trying to help with the issues that may happen up there. We're ready for July 3rd. I've gotten permission to add 10 deputies on overtime, 10 to 12, depending on how many I can get. It's a busy, busy weekend for us with Tahoe going on. I've got 2 bike guys. I may have a canine up here with us. I've got some reserves coming, explorers. We're going to come and try to keep that as family friendly as we can. And I know that we've been in discussions with how busy it's going to be, being that it's the first major holiday after COVID ends on the 15th, and that it's the first event of the holiday weekend for the Sacramento West Slope area. So we're expecting quite a crowd, but I can tell you this, we'll take care of it and we'll keep it as clean and fun as possible for all the families who come out. With that, I'd like to close and see if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Sergeant. Does council have any questions?
Oh, I'm Sergeant. Hi, this is Councilmember Mendoza. I just want to
Hi.
say how good this dashboard looks. Now
Thank
it's
you.
gone. But anyway, yeah, no, that looks really good. I like that.
Yeah,
Thank
they did a
you.
really good job in our crime analysis to do this for the entire county and the different areas.
Yeah, no, it just makes things really simple. So thank you.
You are welcome.
Thanks, Marty. Any other questions from council? Any public questions? All right. Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Do we have a CHP representative with us tonight? We did.
Mr. Mayor, I don't see Chris online.
All right, great. Move on to the City of Colfax Volunteer Fire Department and Placer County Fire. Chief Egan, Chief Estes, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you. Good evening, council members, members of the audience. Brian Egan, Battalion Chief, Cal Fire, Placer County Fire Department, and the City of Colfax Fire Department. So I wanted to kind of recap what I provided to the council after last council meeting that unfortunately due to the IT problem got canceled, but mainly for the members of the audience and a little bit of a fire prevention message. So on the 17th of May, we entered officially fire season in the unit. This is turned into a little bit more of a ceremonial date than it is an actual date that indicates that when we're not running fires. The department has made it very apparent over the last decade that somewhere in Cal Fire or in California, we are in fire season, and Cal Fire recognizes that and remains that state of readiness. But for our local area, we entered May 17th. We suspended burning on May 24th, the following Monday, and it's critical for the members of the audience to understand that that is all dooryard burning has been suspended. There is no burn days. There is no permits being issued. You cannot burn your annual materials any longer until the burn suspension will be lifted. And that'll be late in the fall, early winter, when we get a substantial enough rain. We entered peak staffing in the unit on June 1st. And what that equates to is all of our engines, all of our crews, all of our dozers, our aircraft are all at peak readiness. So with that, we have 22 staffed frontline fire engines, 5 staff fire crews spread over the 7 days of the week. We have 3 staff bulldozers in the unit, and our Grass Valley Air Attack base has its air attack, and right now 1 tanker on base. The second tanker, like many of our air bases, are coming out of maintenance, and within the next week or so, that second tanker will be on base. With that, we have our Forest Service cooperation or cooperative air attack that's also on base with one of their heli attack crews and helicopter out of White Cloud. The important thing for the members of the audience to recognize is that although we're the first part of June and we still maybe haven't reached that threshold of summertime on the calendar, we are anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks ahead of where our fuels would normally be this time of the year. And a great indicator of that is yesterday, the unit in Yuba County, southeast of Beale Air Force Base, suffered a 850-acre extended attack fire with a loss of 1 resident. Wind driven through the grass and the woodland oak that surrounds the base on the southeast side. It's important for everyone to understand the fuels are not where they would normally be in June. We're 6 to 8 weeks ahead of where our fuel moistures are at. And so if you're going to be outside and you're going to be doing things, you really need to be cautious. We would prefer to not see anyone doing any kind of gas-powered landscaping maintenance done after 10 o'clock in the morning. Making sure that your spark arresters are in place, your equipment is in good condition. All it takes is 1 ember into the grass and we'll find an ignition source. And the last thing I wanted to cover for the audience is the 3 things we're continuing to hammer hard with our public. That's signing up for Placer Alert. That's the reverse 911 system that the Placer County Sheriff's Department, in conjunction with CAL FIRE Placer County Fire, will use to notify residents of a given area for evacuation warning or a mandatory evacuation in the event that we have some kind of an emergency. It's not just for wildland fires. It can be used for a law enforcement activity, a hazardous material incident. The second thing is Ready, Set, Go at the CAL FIRE website. And that gives homeowners a good indication of what they can do for your defensible space, preparing for an evacuation, what to do in the event that you're told to evacuate, and if you aren't able to evacuate, what to do to shelter in place. And then the last thing, and this is specific to the community of the city of Colfax and its residents, is the city does have a hazardous vegetation ordinance. We adopted it in January of 2020. It gives the residents and the homeowners the information they need to make their home defensible. And you can go to the city's website and find that information on the Veg tab under the public notices information. So with that, end of report, unless there's any questions.
I just have a quick comment, Chief.
Yes.
Cindy Guffinson, the other day in a meeting that I was in with her, talked about the high-low for law enforcement. Can you kind of go over that for our audience out there, please?
Well, I certainly can. And if Sergeant Griffiths is still on, he probably could speak a little bit more accurately to it. But post many of the major fires that we've had in California over the last several summers, our law enforcement cooperators have either adopted to use or installed in their patrol vehicles a high-low siren that they can sound from their patrol vehicles as they drive through neighborhoods. So in the event that you don't have cell service, you haven't gotten a phone call, or you haven't gotten that text advising you to evacuate, our law enforcement partners in our communities will use that siren to alert community members of that potential evacuation. And I see Kevin just popped up, so he probably can give you a little bit better description of that.
Estes, I think
Thank you, Chief.
explained it very well. It's the European style siren is what you're going to hear. But the only thing I wanted to add was, if you're hearing that, it's not time to see what's going on. It's actually time to get in your cars and start leaving. We're not going out there using it any other time except for in that emergency when it's time to go. If we have extra time, you'll see the Everbridge, the Placer alert, you'll start getting those notifications on your phone. If you start hearing that high-low siren, that one that makes you feel like you're in Europe, it's time to just get in your car and start driving away. And then to do that as quick as you can, because we're going to have other resources. I mean, our job as the sheriff's office is to get you out of the way, to get you safe so that the fire guys can come in and do their job. And if we do it all and we work together as we have been, it'll be much better for everybody.
Absolutely.
Thanks for clarifying that, Sergeant.
No problem.
Any further questions? Any questions from the audience?
We don't have any. Thank you very much, Chief.
All right.
Appreciate it. Great question, Marty. Okay. That concludes our agency reports. We don't have any other agency representatives online with us right now, do we? Therapist Center or anything like that.
Sean, I do believe that Green Machine was joining us to speak on some stuff for the 3rd of July. I just don't know if Andrea's on right yet or if she wanted to wait till public comment.
No problem. Andrea, are you online with us?
If you are, you can click the raise hand function.
Okay. If she pops up, then we'll go ahead and take her comment at any point during the rest of the meeting. All right. So that concludes item 3, agency reports. We don't have any presentations or public hearings tonight, so we'll move on to item 6, the consent calendar. Does anybody have any changes or amendments they'd like to make to the consent calendar? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, Marty moved, David second. All right, Amy, could you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Mendoza,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Fatula,
Aye.
Mayor Loman.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
All right, move on to item 7, public comment. Have we received any public comment for items not on the agenda? Everybody seen any? Got a couple of chat questions here.
I haven't received any public comment.
Okay, great. Oh, I'm here. Okay. All right.
I see some raised hands.
Okay.
Amy, do you see the raised hand?
Yeah, there's an attendee named Diane Green that wants to speak.
Okay,
I don't
great.
have the ability to promote her. Oh, there we go. She's available. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, you guys have heard enough of me already, huh? I have some questions about the grow. What was the company that's coming in that's going to do the marijuana grow down behind the old vet place?
That was Fireworks Farms, the name of the company.
Fireworks what?
Fireworks Farms.
Okay. We have a couple of questions. And I now understand why. I don't understand why Placer County, everybody else voted down them allowing them to go into their county and grow, and we did. But and I know it's for money, but I'm concerned for the children, the kids, and the example that we have here. I worked with the POP officers in Antelope and helped them. When I first lived there, there weren't very many, and then there was a lot of drugs, a lot of drug people that came in, and that's why I moved up here. and now it's like, follow me. But anyway, I'm sure it was already been here. But the concern I have is for it to be so close to, there's that new little place, the vet's office. It's right down. I've driven down in there. It's right down under there, I guess. I guess that's where it is. I went into the Red Frog to try to find out exactly where it was and talked to some people in there, and they were astonished, some of them, to know that that was going in. Many people I've talked to did not know. So there's a lack of communication there. And I know you're doing what what is legal, but you know, going above and beyond that has not been done. And there was one little lady, she said she knew about it and she didn't agree with it. And so there's a lot of disagreement, much more. And I know, you know, people from outside have come up here to push this. And I'm aware that these guys have had this land for some time. And so they bought it here. So somehow they knew that they were going to get it okay. So I'm just wondering how this all works. But we're going to keep pushing for it not to be in this area.
Can I say something? This is my name is Melinda Neely. I've been a resident in Colfax for 2006. I'm here to let you know that I disapprove you voting to have the cannabis here in Colfax. Do you want Colfax known as a cannabis town or the train town? I'm concerned about crime going up. Have you talked to a sheriff before voting? Also, I'm concerned about the smell for the residents that live nearby the cannabis. The people that own the cannabis, do they live in Colfax? What about that this is a fire zone and the drought? You say that it will bring in money for Colfax. What is more important, our children or money? Teen marijuana use is also linked to increased risk of depression and suicide behavior. So please think twice before voting. Placer County voted no in Marysville. Why can't we? And there is a reason why they voted no. If it wasn't for the money, would you still have the cannabis? Do you want your name known that you voted for the cannabis in Colfax? That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you both for your comments. Nick, can you address any of those comments right now, or do we just kind of have to leave it open-ended?
It's more appropriate. This is public comment time. They made their comments and they should just become part of the record, and we can consider them when the issue arises and come back before council.
Great. Thank you, Mick. And thank you both again for your comments. All right. Do we have any more public comment?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So, okay, it's Andrea. I'm the president of the Colfax Green Machine. Is it okay if I speak about the 3rd of July?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Andrea, for joining us.
Oh, no problem. So excuse the background. I am at a baseball game. Hi, City Council and Mayor. Again, this is Andrea, with the president of Colfax Green Machine, and I just wanted to give you guys kind of an update on the 3rd of July. Right now, we are $3,500 away from meeting our goal as of today. We did get the fireworks funded. We got $8,300 from Fireworks Farms, so they did pay for our fireworks. So we are greatly appreciative of them. As of now, our schedule is that we have the parade, the Little Patriots parade at 1:30 on the 3rd, and then we have the Lions Club parade at 6, followed by fireworks at 9:30. We also have Ambition Dance Group that will be doing performances at 12, 2, 4, and 6. Tom Drennan is coming with his band, and they'll be in the library beer garden from 5 to 9. And we also have a DJ coming that will be here all day up towards Depot Street. We also have muscle cars coming that are going to be parked downtown so that kids can take pictures with them. Our kids zone area is expanded this year. We're going over by the old train depot where the chamber building is. There's going to be 5 bouncy houses. And I believe the chamber is going to do a rock wall. So that'll be all kids zone area. We also have 3 beer gardens this year. 2 of them will be one on Depot, one in the library or by the library, and then one across the street, which will be a skate park fundraiser. So Sergeant Ty is going to be manning that booth with his volunteers. I believe that's it. Also, because we're $3,500 short, we're still asking for donations, and we were hoping to ask the city of Colfax for a donation as well. So hopefully that's something you guys can maybe talk about. Also, I'll be at the next meeting with stickers and the new buttons and the buttons from last year for all the city council. That's all I have.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. It sounds like it's going to be an awesome event. So glad we're getting it back this year.
Thank you.
Mayor Lohman, I have a public comment off of Facebook that I'd like to read really quickly.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have Howard White commenting on Facebook. I think he's commenting as we go. So some of it is on a couple different items, but let me see. It's not showing all the comments for me right now. Can you do me a favor and see if anybody else has public comment? And I'll try to pull up his comments real quick.
Yeah. Do we have any other public comments? Anybody else on the line? Not showing anybody else on Zoom. Check our chat.
Sorry for the delay. His comments were on there are no longer viewable to me.
Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor,
Amy.
I do see 2 comments on Zoom from Christy Parnham. Would you like me to read them?
Yes, please.
I think it's pertaining to the cannabis, and it says, and it was the topic of manning meetings. All of this was discussed at length. It has been voted on, I thought. Is that the 2 comments I see from Christy Parnham.
Great, thank you. Like we missed the other comments on Facebook. Well, if that was all we had, then I will close public comment, and we can move on to council and staff reports.
Mr. Mayor, I think I can read what's on Facebook.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, I think they might be going out of order, but at first he said, Howard White said, thanks for keeping us safe. Pat Canty said, is there 20 people from? Howard White said, public comment. Prohibition of this in California is like having a no pissing section in the swimming pool. And regulate it or let everyone else make the decisions for you. Colfax Council, you did the right thing. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Amy, for pulling those back up.
It looks like Tim Ryan would like to speak as well.
Okay. Tim? Tim, are you on with us?
Okay, Sean, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you got a little bit of an echo.
Okay, I will move away from the screen. I just wanted to make a comment for the city staff. So this is Tim Ryan, and I am one of the directors of the Chamber of Commerce and also your treasurer. And I just wanted to make a comment of what an excellent job that Shanna Stahl and Wes have been doing over the past few months. without a full-time city clerk and other employees that are now coming onto staff, they have filled in and done an excellent job. And I just want that known to the city council that we are very fortunate to have both of them and their work ethics. So yeah, Sean, just appreciate that very much.
All right. Great. Thank you, Tim. I definitely agree.
Thank you
I
so much.
also, as city clerk of the city of Auburn, second that public comment. I could not do what I do with the city of Colfax without the two of them. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Great. Great to hear. All right. I think we've covered public comment now. So we can move on to item 8A, committee reports and Callback informational items. Joe, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sorry, I was having trouble unmuting. So I got one informational item here that's, I think, a key one we need to be aware of. And I think we're going to have to take some action from council back to our federal representatives. Everybody knows during the census, we had a big problem in Colfax in that the census is mailed out to a street address, and they use the post office database for mailing it out. And the post office database in Colfax is not maintained because the post office does not deliver to home addresses. And I'll give you just 3 or 4 examples in there. If I pick some of the streets, and I'll do there's about a half a dozen homes that are on side streets off of North Forest Hill Street, but because they don't have a valid address, their house address shows up as on the corner of North Forest Hill Street, but they're actually almost a block back on a side street. So they never received the census, and the census workers doing the follow-up, because I ran into a number of them walking through the town, couldn't find the houses because the house is not where it's supposed to be, and they won't look down the side street to where the house is because it's supposed to be on, as an example, North Forest Hill. So I think our census was significantly undercounted. I escalated this up to the census regional manager. His first name is Tom. I forget his last name, but I have notes on it somewhere on my old laptop. And they sent me over to their cartography something or other unit, and they promised they would fix the problem. So we're now about a year later, and they're doing the American Community Survey Census. And this is the one that determines where $650 million of California money goes to either schools, hospitals, or fire stations based on the response they got back. And I just had a census worker come by my house as an example. I never received the census because the address problem is still not fixed. If they mail it to your house address, the post office can't deliver it because it's a legal document unless it's got your PO box on it. The post office doesn't update the post office address database because there's no house delivery. The census will not, the census surveys and the census is not deliverable to a PO box. So I believe Colfax is being underrepresented in both the census as well as the surveys that are out there, like the American Community Survey dated 2020, which is the one that's in progress right now. And I don't know how to fix this without getting maybe a state senator or somebody involved. So I would like to get an item where we get maybe Wes to do a letter for the council and get it signed by the mayor and sent over to our state senators asking for help to resolve this, because going through the Census Bureau did not resolve it. So I tried a little test with the one that they sent me. They said, you have to answer the survey, because with the volunteer that came out to my house to find out why I didn't respond, I said, I'll respond to it, provided you get your executive to call me back and explain why they didn't fix the problem since the census a year ago. And the answer from the census worker is our executives do not call people back, period. So you'll get a certified letter in the mail or through FedEx complaining that you didn't fill out the mandatory survey, and another census worker will come out, maybe. So I think we got a serious problem here when it comes to funding. If the census actually undercounted Colfax, we will see a negative impact in all kinds of things from the tax dollars that we get. And this American Community Survey, which funds local firehouses and fire stations, also has a negative impact if it's not done correctly. That's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Marnie, do you have anything to report? You're muted.
Thank you. No, Mayor, I do not have anything to report at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Marnie. David?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. Trinity?
I'm going to go ahead and hold off for next meeting as well. Most of my meetings actually fall this next couple weeks.
Okay. I just had one item. I just got out of our LAFCO meeting, and they're in the process of hiring a new executive officer for LAFCO. So that would be interesting to see. The current person holding that position has been there over 20 years and done a great job. So she'll be very hard to replace. That looks like they have some good candidates. They're right at the beginning of the process right now. So it'll be interesting to see who they select. That was all I had. Wes, would you like to give your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One item I want to report on tonight, I circulated and it's on the city website. PG&E's updated the microgrid map fact sheet. This is, for those of you who don't know, there's the PSPS season's upon us. Colfax was able to get PG&E to agree to bring in 2 1-megawatt generators at central location behind the freight depot, which will provide power to about 65% of the community. I just wanted to make sure the council and the public was aware that the new fact sheet's out there. It's got some great detailed information on it. And I've also asked Brandon Sanders, the PIO for PG&E, to come to the June 23rd council meeting and give a full update to council and the public. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Wes. That finishes off item 9 or item 8. So I'll move on to item 9 and item 9A. Wes, do you want to start the presentation?
I'll get this one started out, and depending on the conversation where we go, may need to jump in on the council stipends. So at the April 28th council meeting, council discussed whether it should provide council members with any type of technology devices in conducting their city business. As directed, staff has provided a cost for each of those additional items. It's the attachment on there. It talks about the various options that council was considering. One was issuing cell phones to council members to do their business, or laptops, or providing a computer station at City Hall. It was also discussed of potentially raising the stipend for council on there. So as staff tonight, we're kind of looking for council's direction and which option, if any, they would like to pursue, so we can go into more detail on it.
All right. Thanks, Wes. Anybody in particular want to kick off this discussion, or do you want me to go down the line?
Yeah, this is Joe. I can kick it off if you want.
All right. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, so I raised this issue. I don't care about cell phones and all. This was a laptop question from my perspective. I had purchased one laptop when I started on city council. That laptop has aged out now and I can't upgrade it because of the latest Windows update. So I'm currently locked out from doing email unless I put it on a personal device. The solution to use one through down at City Hall can occasionally work, but doesn't normally work. So for instance, when the meeting went on with Pioneer Energy, I was unable to connect up with them, and I missed 2 of their strategy sessions because of that. So my view is, since I'm doing a service to the city should at least provide the basic equipment that's needed. I'm not interested in buying a second laptop that when my term expires, basically is just an extra machine to have around. So that was my reason for bringing it up. It's not a question of does everybody need one? It's only a question is if you find yourself in that constraint, what do you do?
All right. Thanks, Joe. Anybody else? Marnie, you have any comments on this item? Either way.
My only comment is I'm going to reiterate what I said at the last meeting, maybe not the same words, but if we provide for one council member, it's only fair that all council members, like I had to look at this, you know, and see this in a different angle because it was never brought up before. So, you know, unless you research something, you don't understand it. But 5 council members, so if one has one, then they all should be entitled to one. So when I looked at it that way, I'm like, I'm not for any devices because again, my main thing is always trying to save money for the people of Colfax. So in order to do that, you know, if I have to give up something of mine, you know, then I'm going to give it up because why should I be able to have a device and none of the other council members should have a device? And the thing is, I'm not just talking about a device. If we all had laptops, okay, you take what a laptop costs times that by 5. If we all have telephones, you take all those telephones times it by 5. And then every time a Microsoft software has to change, then we got to get new software times 5. So when I had to look at it in that aspect, that's where I'm just like, no, this is just going to cost the people of Colfax too much money. And I'm not willing to do that. So there you have it, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Marty. David, you want to make any comments either way?
Yeah, thank you. I basically agree with Marnie. And out of these options, I would vote for one that is maintaining status quo.
Okay, thanks, David. Trinity?
You know, I'm going to keep it brief because I feel like I've voiced my opinion pretty extensively at this point. But essentially how I feel on this is, you know, coming into council, my expectation was that my stipend was for the purpose of, you know, acquiring the equipment required for me to do my job. And that was really the purpose of it. And that this wasn't truly a, you know, compensated position in any way, shape or form. So I'm going to agree with David that my position on this is pretty strongly in favor of just maintaining the status quo, and the stipend should be the appropriate avenue for acquiring equipment needed to do the job. And I personally think that the stipend is adequate, but if the rest of council feels that, you know, it is not adequate, I'd be open to entertaining that conversation. However, I would just say in advance, I personally think that it's adequate where it is. So that's where I stand on it.
Okay, thanks, Trinity. I'm kind of on the fence. I kind of view the stipend as that's going to provide me with what I need to do the job. But I also see where Joe's coming from, that since it's city business, we're trying to keep everything separate. In some cases, you know, it is helpful to have city support at the very least, especially since, you know, we've had Freedom Information Act requests and stuff like that, where people are requesting emails and things, and they've had to go through the city email onto my personal device. So I would be more in favor of a deduction from the stipend to support IT devices from the city. So no increase in stipend, but we figure out the cost and you deduct an amount over the course of a year or something for the cost of the device. Or if it's a cell phone and it's reoccurring, then deduct the cost of the monthly, provide the cell phone and deduct the cost of the monthly expenses out of the stipend. But that's kind of what I was thinking.
I want to chime in here.
Go ahead.
I want to just say that I agree with Trinity. If we raise our stipends, again, we're going to be spending the people of Colfax money. So $94 a month to do what I do, I'm completely happy with. I love to help the people of Colfax. I just hope that they understand that what we do and the time and the sweat and the energy and the hours is given by, I'm not speaking for the other council members, I'm speaking for myself, is given from my heart.
Mr. Mayor, can I comment?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, raising the stipend, it's actually a salary, is a possibility, but it cannot be effective until after the November 22 election. You cannot just raise your salary while people are still in office. So if the council wants to do that, you can certainly do it. You can do it now, but it cannot take effect until after the November 2022 election.
Okay. And, yeah, I wasn't asking for a raised stipend and what I was talking about. I was just saying you could deduct the cost out of it if it's easier for the city to provide the equipment. Sorry, Trinity, did you have a comment you were going to make?
I just wanted to voice my agreement with you on the separation of devices and kind of where Joe's coming from. Also, I think I just want to clarify where my perspective differs from what was kind of proposed here. And the only difference I think in my perspective was just saying that I believe that with the stipend we're given an adequate pool of money to go out and purchase a separate device. That's actually what I personally did. Was I took my stipend money, went out and purchased a separate device and have been using that, a Microsoft Surface Pro. It's a great laptop and, it's served me well. And I just wanted to clarify that I don't believe that, it's in our best interest to be using, stuff we use for personal activities. It's best to have a separate device, but I just personally think the stipend's adequate to make that happen is all.
Okay. Marnie, did you have another comment?
No.
Okay. Were there any other comments, David or Joe?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we have a 3 to 1 to 1 kind of opinion. So
do you need a motion to make it a little easier? Or?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if anybody wants to make a motion any one of the three ways, that'd be great.
Before doing so, Mr. Mayor, you should call for public comment on the item.
Oh man, I'm doing horrible with that public comment on these meetings.
Doing fine.
Do we have any public comment on this item?
Yeah, Tim Ryan would like to speak and Shanna is gonna unmute him.
Okay, great, thank you. It looks like we had a comment from Diane Green on Zoom. She said, I agree with you all.
Tim, you'll need to unmute on your side.
Tim, you're still muted.
Well, in the meantime, I have a new comment on Facebook. I have Howard White saying he agrees with David, Trinity, and Marnie, and he appreciates all you do. He said, but we're a poor city.
All right, thanks. Tim, it looks like you got yourself unmuted. Go ahead. Still can't hear Tim.
Yeah, he appears to be having some sort of technical difficulty. If you want to continue on, maybe he can put something in the chat box.
Okay. We'll give him just a second to try and get into the chat box since we're going to take a motion.
Well, when you're ready, I'd like to make the motion.
Okay. We'll just try and give Tim another minute to get his comment in.
Yeah, I'd like to make one more comment on this laptop question. And it's like, just to put this in the right context. So when people sound like they don't care about, or trying to make it sound like I don't care about the city because I'm not going to buy a second laptop. I just want people to understand, it says, as a council member, I have a business on Main Street called Luminaris. And I was not able to go after the grant that went out to other businesses because I was on council. So that effectively cost me about $2,000 compared to every other business in town. The second thing is I funded the printing of the Colfax connections for the first couple of years of doing this at no cost to the city. And if that was to be printed through like a Staples organization, that's about $2,000 a year. So I probably have sunk into Colfax just during my first couple years of term, probably close to about $6,000. So I don't appreciate the sound where it's like, I don't care about Colfax because I'm not buying a second laptop. So it's just a comment.
All right.
I had one more in the meantime on Facebook. Mayor Lumen, Tom Parnham said that he thinks raising the stipend is a good idea. And that's it for Facebook comment.
All right, thank you. Has Tim been able to get his comment in? He looks like he's frozen or something. All right. Well, I guess we're gonna have to move on. Close comment on this item. Tim can get on and get a comment and we'll be sure to address it. So do we have a motion?
I'd like to make the motion.
Go ahead, Joe.
Two separate motions.
And so the motion I'd like to make is that the city fund one loaner laptop that's owned by the city that can be used for multiple council members at different times, just to cover situations like this.
Okay. Do we have a second for this motion? I'll second it. Amy, will you do a roll call?
Sure, Councilmember Mendoza. She's unmuted.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? I was trying to do something. Can you repeat what they're wanting? He motioned. I don't understand the motion.
The motion I have on the table, and Councilmember Fatula can correct me if I'm wrong, but that the city fund one laptop that is loanable to council members in if needed in a situation.
Okay, Mick,
Yes,
I'm sorry, I'm confused.
okay.
So 1, 2, or 3 on this vote, is that what I'm looking at?
No, on this motion was for the city to buy one loaner laptop that can be loaned to any council member who needs to use it. So the question before the council right now is whether you support the city buying a loaner laptop that each council member can use as they need it.
Okay, were we gonna set up a space for the council members in City Hall? I thought that's what we discussed the last time. Maybe I'm mistaken.
That motion, no motion to that effect is on the table. The only motion that's on the table right now is whether the city is going to buy a loaner laptop, one loaner laptop for council members to use.
Are we ready for the vote, or do we need further clarification?
I'd like you to go to the other council members, please, because I don't even know what a laptop costs. I didn't know that that's what we were looking at.
So I'll continue on the vote. Councilmember Ackerman,
Nay.
Burris,
I'm sorry, David, was that a nay?
Affirmative. Nay.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote the same way. Nay.
Fatula,
I'm voting for.
and Mayor Loman.
Nay.
And I either have Councilmember Mendoza abstaining maybe from the vote, unless she has a,
No, I'll just give a flat out no.
okay. Motion fails.
Sean, I'll go ahead and make another motion. I would say my motion is to maintain the status quo with our current stipend remaining the same, with the expectation that council members will acquire their own equipment, and in emergency situations where equipment failures happen, city council members will be required to go to City Hall, where staff will assist them at that time within City Hall with existing equipment we already have on hand.
You really don't need a motion to that effect, because if no action is taken, the status quo is by definition maintained.
And I second that.
I would very much like to have it clarified.
Okay.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Amy, will you take a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Mendoza,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Fatula, Joe, you're muted. Councilmember Fatula, you're muted.
That's fine.
Okay, I have Councilmember Fatula. I don't have a vote from. He's currently muted. I'm going to skip over to Mayor Loman.
Nay.
Amy, Joe set up in the back. Let me go see if he's still there real quick. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm still here. So can you read the motion again?
The motion was basically status quo, although Trinity was clarifying it in a motion.
Well, it had a whole lot of stuff to it, so I'd like to hear the whole motion.
The additional part of the motion was clarifying that if in emergency situations where a council member does not have the necessary equipment to do their job, that they'll meet with city staff and we will use existing equipment to accommodate the needs.
So that's a loaner laptop?
It's
Yes,
whatever
that
we
would
have
be a
on hand.
loaner.
So it could be a desktop, it could be, it's whatever we already have existing without procuring new equipment.
So isn't that the same motion that I made, that we have a loaner that's available? I'm confused. I don't understand the difference in the two motions.
It wasn't the
I
same
didn't
motion.
I didn't understand it to be the same. The motion was to maintain the status quo, to not increase the stipend. And if in an emergency, council members need to access equipment, they can do so at City Hall with any existing equipment the city currently owns.
Is it at City Hall only, or it could be loaned out to the person for use during that emergency?
I understood it to be at City Hall.
So,
That's up to council, to Vice Mayor Burris.
yeah, so I don't know what motion we're voting on, because if it's to have a piece of equipment available that could be loaned out, that's what I motioned. And it sounds like it's the same that we just agreed with. So
Yeah, I understood your motion to be to acquire a laptop, and I think that's what the council said, no to buying a laptop.
right, but if they have
That's-
one, they don't have to acquire one. So it's like, I'm confused.
Well,
I'm just
clarifying
gonna
that I don't want
clarify.
to acquire additional equipment that is dedicated to city council. I would like it to be existing equipment, and preferably, yes, just used in City Hall, because yes, the intent is to push council members to have their own equipment. And the reason being is that if in a terrible situation that there was nefarious activity by a council member, which I'm not in any way insinuating that this council would be involved with, I would prefer they did that on a personal, they own it piece of equipment versus something owned by the city.
So I don't know what the motion is. Could somebody read the official motion?
Hey, Trinity, may I suggest just motioning, maintaining the status quo?
Yes, we'll go with that. Maintain the status quo. And yes, it is a
Okay.
motion.
So then I need a clarification. Does maintain the status quo means if there's a piece of equipment at City Hall, it can be loaned out or it can't be loaned out? I'm so confused.
There is no process in place currently to loan out equipment from City Hall, so maintaining the status quo would not include loaning equipment out at City Hall. So let's be technical here. Mayor Pro Tem Burris, I think the proper thing to do would be for you to withdraw the motion if the person who seconded the motion will agree with that and start over, so we know exactly what the council is voting on.
I agree to start over.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little frustrated at this point because I feel like my motion was pretty clear. You got to come into City Hall to use the equipment we already have, and I already have enough votes to pass the motion. So at this point, I'm not really inclined to withdraw the motion because I think it makes sense and don't understand how it couldn't make sense.
No, I agree. I thought you clarified by saying you just wanted to maintain the status quo and nothing beyond that. So if your motion stands, it stands, and yes, there are 3 votes in support of it.
And I second it. So if she doesn't renege, I'm gonna second originally what I seconded.
But it sounds to me like the motion that is on the table is not being modified. There's no need then to change the second. There are 3 votes in favor, 1 vote against, and we're waiting for Councilmember Fatula.
I'll vote no.
Okay, motion carries 3-2.
Okay. Thank you very much. Staff, you have direction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 9B, fiscal year 2021, 2022 budget review. Presentation from Lori. Lori, you on with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. We're here to talk about the fiscal year 22 budget, and I can't believe we're already talking about fiscal year 22. We did do a 2-year budget last year when we adopted our budget, so at this time we're just doing a review of the fiscal year 22 budget as adopted. I wanted to start out talking about capital projects and expenditures. We didn't dig into this real deep when we did the mid-year review back in February, You have the schedule that's on page 76 of your packet that lays out all the capital expenditures that we have budgeted for the 2 years. And that's on the left-hand side. And then on the far right-hand side is just a review of how we think those expenditures are falling out now. There's a lot of differences. And those differences are primarily due to changes in project schedules. Those are generally caused by delays in awarding of our grant funding. There's been projects that have been on hold due to other factors such as contract negotiations. And then we do have some new projects that have been added since we adopted the budget, and those are all asterisked for you on the schedule. And I just wanted to point out that those have either already been through council review or they would, they're in early planning stages, and they would come forward for review before we would implement any of those projects. If you just look at the bottom line on this, it looks like we're going to be spending a lot less in capital expenditures by about $3 million. And really the biggest contributor to that is that we had planned in a second year award of CDBG infrastructure grant funding of $3.5 million. We did that for both years. And we have not yet even received the first award. So it is not likely that we're going to get a second award in this coming fiscal year. Does anybody have any questions on the capital expenditures? Silence. Okay, I'll move on to operating revenue and expenses. Again, we did just do a mid-year review on the current fiscal year and dug in pretty deep. At this time, we're not recommending any formal budget amendments for the coming year, but I wanted to highlight some categories that we reviewed a little bit deeper, or that they were things that came up in the mid-year review, and they might be things that we'll be talking about over the coming months if we see changes. The first expenditure that I want to talk about was staffing. Staffing is obviously one of our largest expenses. We did modify a couple positions this past year, and those modifications were all made within the adopted budget. We are currently in the midst of negotiating our MOU with the labor union, and we've had some administrative positions that have been on leaves of absences. And generally, the timing of filling positions creates a decrease in an anticipated expenditure. So if anything, I think that's what we would see in the coming months. In administrative support and our contracted services, we continue to contract for attorney services, finance services, planner services, building inspector, and engineering services. In addition to that, we've budgeted for a grant consultant, the city newsletter editor, branding consultants, and a retail strategy consultant. We've also put in estimates for human resources and labor law assistance. And generally what we see in these different categories is as needs change, some of them go up and some of them go down. It appears that we're well placed to be within budget in those expenditures. There are two areas that I wanted to talk about where we may need budget amendments going forward, hopefully not. The first one is unanticipated legal costs. We've had that this current fiscal year and last, where we've had to expend additional legal expenses in defense of a lawsuit. And the second item is that staff has identified an opportunity, possibly contracting services for a tax major consultant to review the possibility of a change in our TOT, the transient occupancy taxes, for the next election cycle. We would be working with other local jurisdictions on that process. Fire service contracts currently under review and negotiation, but the costs are expected to be, fairly close to what we have budgeted. And the sheriff contract that you approved earlier this evening on the consent calendar, it's coming in $12,000 higher than what we budgeted. But the last few years, we've received an additional credit funding for law enforcement that should cover that, but it's never guaranteed, and it's generally not allocated till the fall. So we'll wait and see how that comes up to see if we need to change that budget. In our general fund revenues, sales and use tax continues to be continues to be our largest revenue source. When we put the 2-year budget together last year, we're in the beginning of the COVID-19 outbreak. We anticipated that there would be a massive shift in spending and that it could have a significant impact on revenues. As such, we budgeted a very conservative estimate, which was a 20% decrease for fiscal year 21 and a 10% decrease in fiscal year 22 based on fiscal year 19 actuals. I'm sorry, 20 actuals. When we did the mid-year budget review and based on actuals this year, we saw that we were not being impacted as significantly and we put in a higher estimate. So if we continue to see those trends, we would likely be looking at a mid-year adjustment for sales tax also. Our cannabis business tax, it's been running higher than budget this year and we may have increased activity, so we'll continue to watch that closely. Our business licenses and building permits have exceeded budget for both items in the current fiscal year. We think this is primarily due to developer projects and home improvement projects, and we're not certain if those trends will continue, so we'll continue to watch these items closely also. Our interest income, we already know that we're going to have a decrease there. The late interest where we invest the majority of our funds has decreased. So that will not only impact general fund, but also our special revenue and our enterprise funds also. In the area of special revenue funds for revenues, we've gotten a heads up from PCTPA that the forecast for the next fiscal year looks to be within the adopted budget. The same thing for gas taxes and SB1 road maintenance funds. We got a forecast from the State Department of Finance, and those projections are also in line with what we have in the budget. And the last one is the supplemental law enforcement fund. We get an annual allocation of $100,000 each year. And as I mentioned back when I was talking about the sheriff, we generally get a credit there also, so we'll be watching for that to be coming. Lastly, I was just going to speak to the sewer revenue funds. When we did the mid-year this last year, we lowered it and we lowered our forecast. And the reason we did that was that our development had not kept up with what we had projected. Those projects are now caught up with the anticipated BDUs that we forecasted, and so we think the current year forecast will come right in on budget. With that, I'll open up for questions or comments. Like I mentioned, we're not looking for budget, formal budget amendments at this time. I think it's a little bit early as we haven't even started into the year, but I hope this gave you a good highlight of things that we could be looking at.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much, Lori, for that summary. It's much appreciated. Did anyone on council have any questions for Lori?
No, thank you, Lori.
All right. Thank you again, Lori. We really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your night.
I think I have the next item also.
All right, then guess if there's no more questions, we'll see if we have any public comment.
There's no public comment on Facebook currently.
Okay, I didn't see anything on the chat. All right.
You do have a hand raised through Zoom.
Okay.
Diane Green, did you have a comment?
No, I messed up and touched the wrong thing. Sorry.
No problem.
All right. Thank you very much. And there's no action to be taken on this item tonight. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to item 9C, the annual review of administrative policies and procedures. Lori?
Okay, this one's pretty straightforward. Within our administrative policy, we have said that we will review our policies each year. And so we review the investment policy and the financial policy. For the investment policy, we're not recommending any revisions at this time. And in the financial policy, we are recommending just one small change, and it's on page 5 of the policy. It's just for the sewer revenue reserve. This came up both in when we did the sewer rate study, and also our auditors mentioned it in their report to us this year that we had targeted a 17% of our annual operating expenditures for a sewer revenue reserve. Our general fund set up at 25%, and it seems to be just a more generally used number for this type of reserve. So we're recommending to increase that to 3 months of operating expenses. Does anybody have any questions on that or anything else in the policies and procedures?
I do not. Anybody on council? Any questions about that item? No. All right. Do we have any public comment on this item?
I do not see any.
Sorry, Sean, if I could just real sec back up. I did have a question. So Lori, with us making that change, do you see that having future impacts on the ratepayers directly as far as future considerations for rate changes?
No, I do not. In fact, I think it strengthens our position. It shows that we're being prudent in setting aside reserves. We currently have a much larger number than that in unrestricted reserves in the sewer fund that can be used to build up our capital fund and all our capital reserve fund, and all those things will actually play better into when we look at future rate adjustments of any kind.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we're heading in the right direction of trying to keep it from going up. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Trinity. And thank you again, Lori. If there's no other questions, can I get a motion to adopt the revised administrative policies and procedures?
Move that we adopt the policies and procedures.
Second.
All right. Motion by David, second by Joe. All right. Amy, could you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Mendoza.
Aye.
Ackerman.
Aye.
Burris.
Aye.
Fatula.
Aye.
Mayor Loman.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 9D, the roundabout monument sign concept approval. Wes, do you want to give any introduction to this, or do you want to just turn it over to Ken?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and, Mr. Mayor, I'll give a little bit of an introduction, then I'll turn it over to Ken. So at the March 24th, 2021 City Council meeting, Council established a roundabout monument sign concept ad hoc committee, which consisted of Mayor Loman and Councilmember Fatula. Staff, with the support of Solus Graphics, met with the ad hoc committee in April, twice in April and once in May. The presentation that you're going to get from Ken Teichman tonight is the final design concept that staff is subsequently asking council to discuss the proposed roundabout design and then provide direction. With that, Shannon, if you would skip to the slides that you would do, and Ken, if you want to go ahead and talk through the slides, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the design we've come up with representing roundabout monument sign. And this is the frontal presentation. And what you're seeing is traditional rails for a railroad, supporting signboard with reflective material, and bricks and stone in the base to support that. Next slide. The sign is going to be lit with LED lights, and this is the a slightly yellow shade. There's 256 colors that are possible with this configuration, but keeping in the basic shades for celebrations or notating special events is quite available. Next slide. This basically shows the basic dimensions of the sign. Rising above the ground level, it would come up about 10 feet, and the posts that you're seeing protruding below the stonework would be penetrating into the ground. Next slide. And again, this shows the side view of what the sign would look like. And here's your bird's eye view looking down at the roundabout, and the position it would to the left of the screen is where the freeway is. Where the pink Cadillac is would be the area above up on Auburn, and then opposite that would be towards McDonald's. Next slide. And just showing different types of lighting options. Next slide. The red, the green, and next slide, and blue. And final slide. And this shows the, it's not an exact elevation of how the roundabout will appear, but basically we're looking at stonework that migrates into the sign and complements the existing brick and stonework around the area. So with that, I'll answer any questions you might have regarding this project.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may add a couple comments on this, if you don't mind.
Yes, please go ahead, Wes.
Yeah, so as Kim mentioned, we're continuing the cobble look from which is already in the existing islands and stuff. Staff really worked with the ad hoc committee. We felt that having a zero escape was important. We just didn't really want Public Works to have to be in the middle of this island doing any type of vegetation maintenance. As you can see in this design you see here today, there's some boulders that are placed strategically on here, and they look like they're part of the aesthetics. They're also intended to prevent vehicles that may go through the center from striking the monument as it is. In total concept, I think what we worked with the ad hoc committee to capture both our historic railroad history with the new brand, which you see as a Colfax sign simultaneously on there. And with that, I would ask Joe or Sean if either one of you have additional comments that you want to provide for the council.
Sure.
Go ahead, Joe.
So a couple of things on this. We positioned the sign at 45 degrees versus perpendicular to any one of the roads. That way, no matter which way you come at it, you see the sign. The thing that Ken mentioned about the lighting's programmable. So we could say like for 3rd of July, we have it in red or white or blue, and for railroad days, maybe a different color. And just to try to illustrate that there's a special event coming up. So, but that's with the LED lighting, be able to handle 255 different colors or 256 different colors. That's an option that's basically free. So, and posts in this are supposed to be steel columns so that the sign is a pretty robust sign, and you just put it in once. So if somebody was to hit it, hopefully it'll be minimal damage. Other than to the car.
We also tried to keep the size of the sign a little bit smaller so that you still have a clear view of the roundabout. And, there's space in between the sign and the rails where you can see through there. So you can kind of see what's coming.
Yeah, the car elevation view actually looks through the sign. So you're up, this view is up a little bit higher, which is probably, if you look at that Cadillac on the right, you can see how much higher it is in elevation. So.
Yep. I don't know. I'll open it up to questions from the rest of council, I guess. Barney, you have any questions, comments, anything? Still muted. Got
I
it.
have no comments. Just want to say, I think that you guys, the ad hoc committee and the city did a great job with this design.
David?
Yeah, I think it looks clever. Thank you both for being on the committee, for whatever it's worth out of the colors. I like the green, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we can get a good green out of those 256 colors to really highlight the sign for Colfax.
Exactly.
All right, great. Trinity?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the same sentiments. I think you guys did a really awesome job, and I think it's very reflective of the characteristic of the town. I like the the rail ties and all that stuff. So it's pretty awesome, and I really like the lighting aspect. And while we're on the subject, I just want to reiterate for the public watching tonight that the funds for this project are funds that are use it or lose it funds, essentially, that we weren't able to use for any other projects. So, we're putting it into this to have a nice representation of the town when you come in. And I think that the ad hoc committee, Sean and Joe, you guys killed it.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ken, and wife, for all your hard work. And Wes, thanks for organizing all these meetings through all the Zoom and other difficulties that we had.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I think tonight what we're looking for is if the council to approve the design, authorize the city manager to award the structural engineering to GHD and to solicit construction contractors to install the monument.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, Amy, will you take a roll call, please?
Sure, really quick before I call roll, I just want to read a public comment that we received on Facebook on this item.
Yep. See, there I go, missing public comment again.
No problem. It's from Howard White, and he just wanted to state that he really likes it. It's too bad the committee didn't consider daffodils to replace the ones planted previously as a memorial. And that concludes public comment. So I'll continue with the vote unless there's any objection.
Nope.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Aye.
Ackerman?
Aye.
Burris?
Aye.
Fatula?
Aye.
And Mayor Loman.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And that's great. I think I'll look really good in the roundabout there. All right. That concludes council business. Did we ever get any other comments from Tim Ryan or anything? Any other public comments or anything? No.
I do not believe there's general public comment that we missed.
Okay, great.
I don't see any.
Then we'll move on to item 10, go to the order. Joe?
Nothing this time.
Okay, Marnie?
I'll wait until next meeting for my good of the order.
Okay, David?
Nothing at this moment.
All right, thank you. Trinity?
Same, nothing at this moment.
All right, thank you. I just want to say one thing. So June 23rd, we're going to vote on a fire contract. Just going to take the opportunity to say again that wish we would have looked at other options. I haven't seen anything move through council this fast with that little discussion. Even though we held 2 workshops, but we were focused on one idea and pushing it through, it seemed like. So really surprised by that, and really surprised that nobody even took into consideration anything one of their colleagues was saying about looking into other options. So I think this is a bad decision still without looking at other choices or seeing what the city can do for itself. And, it's kind of a slap in the face to 110 years of volunteers that have been there. But that's all I had to say. I'll stop bringing it up.
I actually appreciate your opinion. Thanks, Sean. Whereas you might see it as a slap in the face of the community, I actually differ. I actually think the community would be appreciative of the decision to just even more so beef up our fire support overall for the community. So just my thoughts.
All right. Thanks, David. That was all I had. So if nobody else has any other comments or anything, we can adjourn the meeting. All right. Great. And meeting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Take care.
Good night.